Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
The Healing Through Love podcast with host Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson would love to acknowledge Global Glamping Charities Incorporated for generously supporting this podcast. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all of its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org. The Healing Through Love podcast with Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. Feelings of inadequacy can lead to various negative emotions such as overwhelm, exhaustion and stress. In episode 40, Janet Gabriel discusses.
The best way of explaining CBT, I've done a breakdown because I just thought this is a very easy way of explaining it. CBT works by helping you identify and change those negative, destructive thoughts that you have, and we all have those every day popping into our head, and if we tune into them too much we can start to feel low and depressed. So it's just that pain and discomfort, that we are holding on to. It's changing that. NLP is helping you, how can I say this, it's looking at how you're operating every day and changing it so that I like to change where you are now, and I ask my clients, where is it you want to be? And we actively move towards that.
The Healing Through Love podcast with Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Lynch from charlenelynch.com. Healing Through Love is here to help victims and survivors of family and domestic violence to find their way back to living a more fulfilled and meaningful life. We interview experts and survivors who share their personal stories and offer advice to those who have experienced abuse, no matter where you are on your healing journey. As well as the Healing Through Love podcast, we have an annual Pamper Day here in Adelaide. So this is for survivors of family and domestic violence, where local businesses come together and pay it forward by providing their services and resources for a day of beautiful relaxation and indulgence. Think day spa on steroids. It's an amazing thing to behold. We are looking for organisations with similar values to reach out to us and get in contact with us so we can have a chat to see if you're a good fit for either working with us online or in person for our Pamper Days. And you can reach us at htl.australia.org, and all of those details will be in the show notes. Today we've got a very, very special guest with us, and it's Janet Gabriel. Now, she's got a story to tell, but I'll let her unpack that herself. Janet became a Rapid Transformational Therapist, so RTT, after it helped her to become over her past traumas, and she's going to dive into those so that we understand her story. She now turns up confidently and authentically as she helps other women with their trauma, stress and insomnia and other issues. And RTT utilises various modalities such as CBT, and we'll unpack and explain that, NLP and also hypnotherapy to achieve permanent and quick results. Hello, Janet. How are you?
Hello. I was going to say good morning, but it's good evening for you over there. From very cold England.
It's lovely. So here in Australia, it's in the early evening and it's early morning for you.
Yes. Yeah, very early.
Janet, you've just got such a beautiful demeanour. You're a smiley and happy person, but that's not how life's always been for you. So I'm just wondering, so that our listeners and our watchers, because we're both video and auditory, Can we have you explain a little bit of your story so that we can have that level of connection and understand where you came from?
Sure. So a lot of trauma in my life from a very young age. So I lived with my nan. So there was my mum. My dad left when I think I was around 3. I'm not quite sure. And my mum remarried my stepfather. Who was a very strange man. So he wouldn't talk to us for weeks on end, and we never knew why. We didn't know what we'd done wrong. I had an older sister, so for 7 years she was the only child, and then I popped along, and there was a lot of resentment. She did not want me around. So brought up in this very dysfunctional family. So what I didn't know, my mum had a lot of past trauma. So she was badly bullied by her brother. She was one of 12 children, so yeah, she didn't get her mum's attention, which she desperately wanted. So, and this is what happens when we have trauma that we don't resolve, we pass it on to, unfortunately, our children, and so it goes on. So mum was very nervous, always worrying, always going around trying to keep the house, everything perfect all the time. And I didn't know why, but she'd have these outbursts because of her past trauma, and she took it out on me. So I was afraid to go to school because my mum would say, if I don't go to school, she'll be taken away. And because my father had already disappeared, I believed her. You know, they used to say, we'll call the police, or the men in white coats will take you away. And as a young child, that's terrifying. So afraid to go to school, afraid to stay at home. So every Monday morning, upset stomach, I really didn't feel well. And that's the thing, when you have emotional issues, they will come out physically. So, you know, if you've got a child that's Monday morning, they've got a tummy ache every Monday morning, that there's something else going on there. So, yeah, very unsettled childhood. And then I wouldn't sleep. I'd sleepwalk, I'd have nightmares. I'd get up at night and turn all the lights on in the house. Or I think this is quite interesting. I'd always go into my mum's room and grab something of hers, a cardigan or something, and it was me trying to be close to her. And then I'd take it into my room, and my mum would say she'd find it on the floor in the morning. But I'd never speak out. So if you'd see me, everyone in the family, I had a very big family, lots of cousins and aunts and uncles. My mum's eldest sister lived next door, so I used to spend a lot of time in there. And I'm sure she could hear what was going on, but in those days you didn't interfere. Nobody would say anything. But luckily for me, I had my nan who ended up taking the role of my mum. So I see myself as very fortunate of having her there. So, you know, she was sort of my anchor and my security. So very, very grateful because she was a wonderful lady. And I didn't find out until just before my mum died. She told me that my nan was going to report my mum to the NSPCC because of her treatment of me, that it was that bad. So I grew up feeling I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough. And I was told that. I was told I was clumsy, I was tone deaf, I was stupid constantly, and I believed it. So I never reached my full potential. So never speaking out, nobody knew what was going on because I kept it all to myself. You know, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. When I eventually went to work, I would work harder than anybody else, keeping quiet, people pleaser, big time, going around helping absolutely everybody else. And there was that belief that people wouldn't like me if I didn't do things for them. So also growing up, a lot of bereavement. So because my mum came from a very big family, had a lot of aunts and uncles, and I was very close to them. So we'd see each other during the holidays. We'd go on holiday together. You know, there'd be 8 cars all going down to the Isle of Wight or, you know, down to the beach. So these were people there weren't aunts and uncles that you'd see every few years. So a lot of loss, in my family. And what really triggered me, I lost my dad, my sister and stepdad within 12 months of each other. And that set me off panic attacks at night, not all the time, but I would wake up and believe, in that half awake state, you're confused. So I would wake up believing that I was going to die, and it was very real. And I had a time limit on it always. And then I'd be very confused, thinking I have to take medication to keep me alive. And I'd be thinking, I can't remember going to the doctors. When did I go to the doctor? And then either my partner would say, what are you doing? Because I'd leapt out of bed confused, or I'd wake up completely and realize, I was just in that state of panic, but my heart would be racing. And I didn't know the root cause of it. So I had an RTT session with a colleague of mine, and it was the way I was told about those 3 deaths. It was very sudden. My dad was abroad. He was in Goa at the time. I had a total stranger leave a message on the phone. It was New Year's Eve. We'd gone out, got up in the morning, and it was just a phone call saying my dad's name had died, and put the phone down, which was very shocking to me. And then my stepmother just disappeared. She was an alcoholic. She disappeared off the face of the earth with this couple, and never saw her again. So I've got a few photos of my dad, but all the personal things that he'd got for me from abroad or his travels, I didn't get those. So, there was a lot of trauma around losing my dad. So yeah, it's interesting sometimes what sets you off to having, those panic attacks. And once you get to the root cause, those panic attacks, those waking up at night, that stopped immediately. And that was years ago. And it's never come back. This is very powerful. And it's sort of stored in your subconscious mind. So sometimes we know, our triggers. Sometimes we don't know. They're deep in that, our subconscious mind, and we're running on that program every day. 97% of your daily thoughts, all your beliefs, your emotions are coming from your subconscious mind, and that is huge.
Absolutely. And if you're over 35, and I know many of our listeners are, then a good 90% of those 95% thoughts are actually subconscious. So you're trapped in an environment that you cannot see a way out, and you are not even aware that you're having these repetitive thought processes because it's already programmed. So unpack for us RTT, and all of its modalities, because it's not just one modality, it's several modalities. So first of all, dive into RTT and explain to us what that is.
Well, why I love RTT so much, because it's hypnotherapy, and I love that because, as I said, I have women come to me, they know something happened to them at a certain age, and now they're having panic attacks, but they don't know why. And that's why I love hypnotherapy, because I can get to the root cause very quickly, and it will be in the first session. I will unpack where that's come from, how, why, where, and when you acquired the belief, that you're not good enough, or you're an imposter, for example, or why you're having those panic attacks. RTT was originally, its founder is Marissa Peer. She's won so many awards for this, and I guess you've heard of Marissa. I came across Marissa at a time I really needed help, and I read her book, and I thought, gosh, this really resonates with me, about feeling good enough. So it's a combination, or it's the best of all the other therapies combined together. So you're not just looking at one aspect of your issue, you're looking at it from every point of view, where it's come from, why you feel that way, looking at so for example, my dad leaving when I was around 3, me feeling, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of his attention. I didn't know that he felt really bad about leaving us, a sister and myself. So he didn't think that he was worthy to come to our sports day and be involved with us growing up. So he stayed away, but he was not only punishing himself, he was punishing us. So that belief that I had, not good enough, and it affected my relationships throughout my life big time. It wasn't, they're not true. We're growing up, we're trying to make sense of the world, but those thoughts at 5, 6, 7, 8, they're not true, but we hang on to them. So it's a combination of CBT, NLP, but Marissa has packed in so much, and this is why you can get results very quickly, that you're looking at it, you're tearing apart your belief system. And what this does, you make new neural pathways. So if you automatically react or you're triggered, it's because you've got that neural pathway, and the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. With RTT, we're making new neural pathways. So we're going in, we're investigating, and you can't relive the past. And this is what some people are very scared of. They think, working with Janet, she's going to bring up all my past trauma. But I have a way of very safely reviewing what happened, what your beliefs were. And clients will say to me, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I caused my dad to leave, this is my fault, I was abused. I had one lady say she was abused by the local paedophile at 7, and she said to me, it's my fault at 7. That's her belief. And she said, I put myself in that position. But after working with me, she realized, there's no way that was her fault, and she could let it go.
Excellent. So becoming the observer in the process allows you to distance yourself from the behavior. So the RTT is the overarching methodology, and inside of that sits NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, yes?
Yes, yeah.
And hypnosis. So basically, it's a combination of 3 different methodologies, 3 different technologies, if you will, because they're powerful frequency technologies, and combined together to create this rapid response. And that's where it gets its name, basically, because it allows you to rewire your thought processes without having to dramatically go through the challenge, be the observer, see the challenge, and create a new story. And so that's why it's so instant and rapid. And this is why it's so popular. So I absolutely love it. But what I'd love you to do for our listeners is explain a little bit more about each of those particular pillars. So CBT, and then a little bit about hypnotherapy, and a little bit about NLP. So they understand the power of these 3 things put together to create the RTT.
Sure. So hypnotherapy is a state we all go into every single day. So if you're dropping the children off at school, you don't remember, have you ever just arrived at your destination? You don't remember stopping at the traffic lights, indicating, we just get into autopilot. Or if you make a cup of tea or coffee, you don't remember. I was making lots of cups of coffee the other day in the kitchen and talking at the same time. And I suddenly stopped and said, did I put another pod in? I couldn't remember. Somebody just going to get hot milk, because I was in that autopilot. So hypnotherapy is completely safe. It's scientifically proven to work. The best way of explaining CBT, I've done a breakdown because I just thought this is a very easy way of explaining it. CBT works by helping you identify and change those negative, destructive thoughts that you have. And we all have those every day popping into our head. And if we tune into them too much, we can start to feel low and depressed. So it's just that pain and discomfort, that we are holding on to. It's changing that. NLP is helping you, how can I say this? It's looking at how you're operating every day and changing it so that I like to change where you are now, and I ask my clients, where is it you want to be? And we actively move towards that. But the change occurs. So when I said about these neural pathways that you have, how I get you to change from where you are to where you ideally want to be is I do you a personalized recording to listen to for 21 days. Or, some people say 28 days. It depends on the person. That's changing those neural pathways. And the more you focus on something, the more you'll get that into your life. So, when we don't want something in our life, we're focusing on it, we're more likely to get it, unfortunately.
Yes, so
And then,
true. So it's
yeah,
about reprogramming. So the RTT, correct me if I'm wrong, gives you an opportunity to observe, to see where the damage was done, and then design a new story using NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, so using language program to create a new existence, a new vision for your life, a new direction, and then you use the CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy, to embed that as well. Is that correct? And you use the hypnotherapy to get to the challenge in the first place and to also do the programming?
that's absolutely correct. Yes. And it's really interesting, the beliefs that people pick up from that young age.
Mm.
And as I say, some people, I've had clients who I go to scenes. So I normally go to 3 or 4 scenes with my client in a very relaxed state. And hypnotherapy is just a two-way conversation.
I love it. I love it. So it's a gentle way to observe the challenge from a distance so that you don't have to go through all of the pain again and just decide that you're going to have a different outcome. So this is why. And because it's using language as well, it's helping embed these new thought processes. So that's why it's so rapid. I love it. It's amazing. Now, I understand, Janet, when people want to get hold of you, you've got lots of freebies on your website. Is that right?
I have, yes. Yeah. So there's things like free tips for stress and anxiety, free recordings. I will be adding and updating. I also run webinars and masterclasses. I've just finished one, so I haven't got one coming up just yet, but I will have in the future.
Oh, excellent, exciting. So if you'd like to jump on the next webinar that she offers, which are free, there you can just keep an eye out on the website, and then if you get actually jump on any of her freebies, that'll get you into her email sequence so that she can let you know when the next masterclass is coming up. How exciting. So many of our listeners are on different parts of their healing journey, some still in the thick of it, others just out, and many more are actually healed and now paying it forward and healing others through similar techniques, but also others are more hands-on. I want to ask a question. How did you transition to an online space through COVID? So what did that look like for you? Were you seeing clients face to face and then all of a sudden now you need to go online, or were you always seeing clients online?
I see clients face to face locally, and then online, because I've managed to work all over the world, which is amazing. The difference is, instead of me maybe touching someone's forehead or the palm of their hands, I'll just get them to do it. But it works incredibly well, providing, I will set the client up so that there's no distractions, that their phone's off, that they're sitting comfortably. It really works very, very well.
Oh, so that makes me ask a question then in regards to RTT. Is there any similarity between that and EFT, tapping?
No, this is different. I do use another method, which is the havening technique as well. Although I've learnt Marissa's RTT, I haven't stopped learning. So I've learnt with, I don't know if anyone knows Ali Campbell. He's a very famous Scottish hypnotherapist. So I've learnt methods from him. Because clients are individual, I will find out what they need and what works for them.
Oh,
But I have gone back. I just, out of my own curiosity, I've been back to clients to make sure that they're still benefiting from the results, and they've all said yes.
Oh, how glorious. It's fantastic. That's amazing. And you've got free resources that any of our listeners or watchers can jump on. And the details for the website are in the show notes, and they're also in the description here, because you know that we post to YouTube as well. How exciting. So, wow, we are looking to, in the future, run an online summit in and around all of these different types of methodologies, especially leaning into the DV, so domestic violence and family violence space. And we would love to call on you as a guest and to have your powerful proximity with us to move forward. In closing, I'd like to just ask you, for yourself, what do you see as the future with all of these powerful tools to help people heal? What do you see being the future for us and humans, and this ability now to be able to heal wherever we are in the world? What will that look like, a healed planet?
I feel I've worked for the NHS for over 12 years in the past, and I see them incorporating things like hypnobirthing. Oh gosh, what's it called? With the new, I'm sorry, my mind's gone completely blank. I can't think what it's called.
Okay, other methodologies.
Other methodologies. So I see the future that people will realize it's okay taking medication short term, so for anxiety perhaps, or depression, but it's just a sticking plaster. It doesn't work long term. You need to get to the root cause, otherwise you're either going to be on medication for the rest of your life or you will suffer. We need to sort these issues out. I will say, I was on a call with Professor Olson from America, and he said hypnotherapy is used in all the major hospitals for gastrointestinal disorders because it's so powerful. So going forward, I see people using things like hypnotherapy in the future. Medication, you don't need it.
I think it's powerful. Now, if we could just tweak it a little bit so it could be a truth serum, maybe we can use it in the courts as well. Then we can solve all of our issues all at the same time. I love it. I love what you bring. I love this powerful collection of methodologies that you use, and the difference that you make for people that have experienced trauma. And if you're listening, trauma isn't just about a single incident. It can be a series of lower frequencies that have built up to create that trauma. And it can just even be something as simple as, well, not simple, but something like compassion fatigue. If you are a nurse or a doctor or a frontline worker and you're continuously, expressing your compassion, caring more for others than you care for yourself, that in itself can create a trauma over an extended period of time. So when you're saying, oh, I'm not in trauma, I've never had trauma, yes, and what you want to look at is, what's the end result? How is your life right now? Are you living your life optimally? Do you have misery, aches and pains? Do you get a good night's sleep? Are you properly hydrated? Are you in the relationships that you want to be? Are you earning the income you want to be earning? If all of these things aren't so, then perhaps maybe having a look at RTT might be the direction for you to unpack what's locked you in this box so that you can move forward powerfully.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my clients have said they found it really intriguing to find out why they behave the way they do. But if you think about it, by the time you're 8, most of your beliefs about yourself are set. So, not likable, not lovable, don't feel as if you fit in, you don't feel that connection to other people, not good enough. And you're taking all those beliefs into adulthood, where they will run in the background and affect every decision you ever make.
Yep.
No matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah.
I've had somebody, they thought they'd go on holiday, forget their troubles. And then they came back and said, do you know what? I'm still with me.
Yep, it's so true. And I love the fact that your RTT starts with that level of awareness. So having that level of awareness so that you can move forward, and also that observer, so that point of separation so that you can become the observer to have a look at the situation so you don't have to relive the trauma as well. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to connect to you. I love what you do, and we'll share all of the details about how people can connect with you. Do you have any closing words?
Just to say to everybody, if you've got somebody in your life that's constantly putting you down, they're going to take away your confidence, your self-esteem, and you'll go down that path. The reason they're doing that is because they don't feel good enough about themselves. You may think that other person may be controlling you, that they're stronger than you. They're not. And when you start to put boundaries in place and speak up for yourself, it's very powerful. And you'll realize that you're much, much stronger than you think you are.
It's so true. My favorite saying is, that's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion, and leave it at that. And but I wasn't always able to say that when I was a people pleaser myself. So yes, everyone is entitled to their opinion, and it's your responsibility, listener, to watch your proximity, because you are the average of your 5 closest friends. And if you want to uplift your spirituality, your emotional well-being, your finances, like any of the levels of your life, check out who you're hanging out with, because you are the average of your 5 closest friends. So proximity is very powerful. It's been such a privilege and a pleasure, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.